Hi, welcome to Combat Helmets of the 20th Century. Today we're going to be looking at something really cool that you may never have seen before. So it is my great pleasure to bring you the Type 8 experimental U.S. Army combat helmet of World War I. All right, sit back and I hope you enjoy. Well, hi there. Welcome back to Museum of America's Combat Helmets of the 20th Century. I'm Mannie Gentile, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. I don't think this is going to be a very long video. I just want to talk about a very cool helmet that you might not have seen before and you might not see again. So I want to share it with you virtually, okay? This whole thing is about the idea of getting from one place to the other. And in this instance, the one place was the World War I helmet used by the U.S., and the other place was the helmet used by the U.S. in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, the good old M1. Now, when World War I started, the United States didn't have a helmet of its own. It had to use British helmets, and this is a British Mark I helmet. Now, eventually, as the war progressed, the United States would start producing its own helmet, the M1917. There aren't very many differences between the two. Matter of fact, here are the usual differences, and it isn't always the case, all right? Nothing is exact in this science of helmets, but on the British helmet, the texture was achieved with sand. On the American helmet, they used sawdust. Another difference is here the helmet bales are affixed with these little split pins. On the American helmets, they used rivets. Again, back to these bales, the actual bale itself on the British helmet was usually thinner than the version on the American helmet, similar with the buckle. The American helmet had a buckle that was a little more robust. And then the other difference, which is very obscure, is this one doesn't have it anymore, but there's usually a little tag up here talking about the adjustment instructions for the liner. The British helmet, the label in there is just paper. The American helmet is backed with fabric. And then the other difference is the way the rim is joined. On the British helmets, usually it's an overlapped joint. On the American helmets, usually it's a butt joint, okay? Notice I say usually, always keep that in mind, all right? Nothing is ever exact or totally standardized. Usually. Okay, so United States using this helmet in World War I. Now, in World War I, of course, it was trench warfare. And a lot of the threat in trench warfare was coming from above, from exploding artillery shells, raining debris and shrapnel and splinters down on soldiers. So this helmet did a pretty good job of protecting the top of their head and to some degree their shoulders. But for dynamic warfare, out of the trenches moving around, this helmet leaves a lot of the head exposed, all right? So for dynamic war, this isn't such a great helmet. So the War Department says, hey, we need a better helmet. We need a more effective helmet to protect our men. So they cast around looking for someone to help them with the design, and lo and behold, their eyes fall on a man named Bashford Dean. Bashford Dean was the curator of the Arms and Armaments collection at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. He knew a lot about medieval armor, the development of armor. And the War Department said, he's our man. He volunteered his services. They gave him a commission as a major in the Ordnance Corps, set him up in a workshop with a bunch of workers, and he set about designing the perfect American helmet. Now, he came up with about 8 different designs. Most of them were field tested in France before the end of the war. This is late in the war that these helmets are getting sent over to France to be tested. And they had, various mixed results. Then he came up with one called the number 8 helmet. The number 8 helmet, the number 8 experimental helmet. Now remember, Bashford Dean's background was in medieval armor. Let me show you the number 8. Check it out. If you're familiar with medieval armor, no surprises here, right? This is a real cool helmet. Provides this face protection. Look, if you're a man in a trench and you're looking up over the parapet, you've got that facial protection as you're looking around. Oh, back down. So this is a very interesting idea. Now the French had a version of this too, but ballistically, the steel wasn't as good as this American version. And this one offers more protection to the face than the French one. This slit, surprisingly enough, I've had my head in here, it provides a pretty good field of vision because your eyes are actually pretty close to the slit. So this helmet may or may not have been tested out in France. It got to Europe, but we don't know for sure if it actually got field tested. Now there were only 1,300 of these helmets produced, all by the Ford Motor Company. The lining is more sophisticated than that of the M1917. The chin strap, this is interesting, this chin strap closure is the one we're going to see on the M1 helmet. Now here's what Bashford Dean himself had to say about the number 8 helmet. Bashford Dean wrote this book, Helmets and Body Armor in Modern Warfare. If you're a helmet collector, you really should have this book. It doesn't go into the nuts and bolts of any particular helmet like so many helmet books do. What this does, it talks about the concept of armor, the concept of helmets, what helmets are supposed to do, the development of helmets, how we got from one place to another. Make sure this is in your library. You can pick it up fairly cheap, and it's a great book, Helmets and Body Armor in Modern Warfare. So here's what Bashford Dean had to say about the number 8 helmet. This model aimed to produce a helmet on the lines of helmet number 5, but with a stout visor. Like the former helmet, it is roomier and protects a greater area of the head than the British helmet. Its visor protects the face almost entirely, and through its ocular slit, the wearer obtains extended vision. For the slit, although narrow, lies close to the pupil of the eye. The visor is not provided with openings lower at the sides, which would enable the wearer to see the ground immediately in front of him. For a soldier, it was reasoned, when moving forward would not consent to be hampered with a visor lowered. On the other hand, he would be willing to wear it down while in a position where casualties were great and where there were long periods of waiting. It's fair to say that the present visor is the only model among the many which is of considerable ballistic strength. Specimens are at hand which have resisted the penetration of service ammunition of the automatic revolver, yet not so deeply indented as to have caused a fatal wound to the wearer. The manufacture of this helmet was undertaken by the Ford Motor Company, which furnished us in November 1918 about 1,300 specimens. We note that great pains were taken to perfect the balance of this helmet. In spite of its relatively heavy visor, it keeps its position with very little difficulty, even during the active movements of the wearer. Well, there you have it. I'm glad I could share this with you. the number 8 experimental helmet. I'm really happy to have this one in the collection. That's it for today. I hope to have another video in the works soon. I always appreciate you spending some time watching these videos. Go down to the comments and you'll see links to other videos, stuff like that. Oh, and do leave a comment. If I said something wrong, please correct me. That's important. Similarly with the blog, you can find the link down in the description. Go to the blog, and again, if you see mistakes on the blog, please correct me. That helps everybody, and it keeps this hobby fun. And that is what this hobby should be about, and that is fun. So have fun and keep collecting. Bye-bye.
Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.